All right, hi everyone. Today our webinar is about WiaTag application and essential features of that app. And let us look at the agenda. First, I'd like to talk with you about WiaTag technical implementation. So that means what settings you need to know about when you just start working with WiaTag app. And then we'll talk about how you can control the battery of WiaTag units and how you can use the chat with WiaTag application. And these two other parts of our webinar will be live, so we'll go to the Wialon interface and see how the setup looks like. Okay, so let's start with technical implementation. And as you know, everything starts with login. Why would you ever need to log into WiaTag app is because you want to use your smartphone as a tracking device. You want to convert your smartphone into the tracking device. You would not need to buy any hardware. Just the location of your phone will be reported to Wialon server. And of course, you will need to install WiaTag app. Just search it on Google Play or Apple Store, and you'll install the app. What will you see when you log in? That will be the very first screenshot on the left that you'll see. And you'll be offered multiple options on how you can sign in. That's where you may get lost, and I don't want you to be lost. So if your first time log into WiaTag, here is my recommendation on how you can sign in just by knowing the account name and your credentials to one of the accounts in Wialon. So you would select account name on the first login page. Then you would click login as another user on the bottom of this page, of the next page. And what will you see on the third screenshot is the very classy way of logging into Wialon platform. You just need to type the username and the password from one of the users who have access to Wialon. So in my case, it's a WiaTag Webinar user, and there was some password to that user, and I created that user just for testing purposes. I created it in Wialon interface in one of my accounts. So I typed the username, password, and then you see their WiaTag app will offer you to create new unit. So you click on create new unit, and then you're creating it. So anytime you're creating new unit on Wialon, you also need to give it a name. Then you need to give it a unique ID and password, and then phone number. So here's some specific. When you creating WiaTag unit, you can type any unique ID, which is unique. The only requirement is that it should be unique, any combination of letters and numbers. So I decided to type in WiaTag 2018. And then password, just up to you which password to type. For me, it was 1234. And then the phone number, it doesn't have to be a real phone number, but what is very important, it should be entered in international format. So here's an example of how international format looks like. It always starts with plus. Okay. Then you click create unit. Okay. And then you need to choose one of the modes. Don't think too much about what the mode means and which one you should choose. Go with the first one, which is called active, because from the predefined modes that we're offering you, active, standard, or light, active mode is the only one that allows you to get the location data on Wialon without any delays. Other modes are saving your battery, but with this mode that we're offering you, there is either 5 minutes delay or some other delay, so you won't get the location data right away. And then you can be creative and think about your own custom mode. You can set it up, but right now just keep it simple. Select active mode and click launch. And here we are. We logged into WiaTag, so the most important part is done. You can click on the bottom panel of location determination service setting, And basically, you're just turning on the location service by clicking on that button. And that means that on Wialon, you will see the location. Right here is what you're supposed to see when you log into WiaTag Webinar user account with the one that you use to create the unit. Hope there are no questions. If there are some questions, please don't hesitate to use chat to ask them. My colleague Coven will be able to answer your questions, and if there are any, complicated questions, I'll answer them also after webinar. Now, the second part of technical implementation is related to battery. So by default, your phone or your WiaTag app will not report the battery of your smartphone. How would you be able to activate it? First, you're on the main page of the WiaTag. You're already logged in, right? And then you need to open the settings from the top panel. Then you need to select user modes. And then very tricky part, on iPhone, it's tricky, right? You need to swipe to the left. On the Android, it's a little bit different. There are 3 dots. So you would need to click on these 3 dots. That's where my mouse is right now. And then you will see on the left first screenshot, you see edit button. On Android, it will even tell you edit. So you just click on edit, right? And that's how you're editing active mode. By default, active mode has no battery, but then you see the middle screenshot, you go to additional parameters and you decide, I want to, the battery level to be reported. You activate it. You see other options, feel free to activate everything or nothing. Of course, it has, somewhat effect on how much data you will spend. If you all the time sending a lot of parameters to Wialon, then you probably will spend a little bit more data. But, feel free to test all of the parameters. Battery is very important, right? If your employees are using WiaTag app and their battery goes down, you want to know about it. That's why I'd like to highlight exactly that parameter. Okay. What the effect on Wialon? On Wialon, the effect is that you can set up the sensor. See battery right here on the bottom panel. You can set up a battery icon right next to the unit. Okay, so you see here the battery is low, 17%. You can set up the notifications. Makes sense, right? So very useful. Okay. Again, if there are any questions, will gladly answer them after the webinar. And it's time right now to make sure you know what to do with the chat, how to activate it, and how to start using it. So let's go to our screenshots. Again, you're on the main page of WiaTag. You're sending the location. Now you're even sending the battery, but you can't chat with your dispatcher. Actions to be done. You go to the setting button on the top panel. Then you open global settings. And then right away you see chat, so you activate it. The expected result, there is a chat icon on the top right corner of the main page. So now you can click on this chat and start chatting with your dispatcher. Sending files, images, and enjoying a chat about some important information. By the way, that's the effect, their expected results of activated chat on WiaTag. So those messages that you see in green, there is only one message like that they're coming from the driver. The driver is called WiaTag test, right? And these are 2 questions from the dispatcher. So he is asking why your battery is so low. For him, even 60% is low. This is a Chatbox app. So we'll open it together. We'll see how exactly it works. And is it the only way to chat with their WiaTag app owners, or there are some other ways for dispatcher to do that? So we'll talk about it in our live demo. So it's time right now to stop looking at the presentation and actually log into Wialon account and see what needs to be done to test the battery and the chat. All right, so first of all, you see that the unit that you created is right in the account where it's supposed to be. It's sending you the location, like the last location was sent 29 minutes ago, okay? And there is an address, some information about unit, but let's start with the battery. Do we see the battery now? No, we don't. Do we see the battery icon now? No, we don't. And it's so easy to, you know, to make it work that I decide I will not just show you the result, but I actually will show you how you set up the sensor and everything. So you open the settings, right? I click on the range key, and I go to sensors, and I create a new sensor, right? So I call it battery. It's reported in percentage. So it should be a custom sensor. Any sensor that is reporting in percentage should be a custom sensor. Parameter is B. All that information is on our hardware page, WiaTag, so don't hesitate to check it. And yeah, then here we go. It's all set up. You just click OK. You save it. Now, where can I see that sensor? Usually you can see it in the tooltip and on additional menu. But I'd like to play like you would play with it, and you probably face the issue. I created sensor, but I don't see it. What should I do? You should go to the top right corner and open the user menu, then open user settings, and then scroll down a little bit to the section where it says which information is shown in the tooltip and additional menu. And here is the sensor values that right now are not shown in the work list, or I call it additional menu, or unit tooltip. So I activated it in both columns. Now the affected result is that the battery of my phone is shown in this work list or additional menu, and the same way it's shown in the tooltip, okay? Now, there is a battery level icon right here that I decide to activate. Okay, so here it is, but there is no sensor. How would I make the battery of my phone reported in that icon? I open user settings. I go to advanced tab, scroll down a little bit. Here's usage of sensor colors and battery level. It's a very new feature. It's been about 2-3 months it's got released, so I think it's very important for you to know where it is and how it works. Once you select the sensor that you call battery and click OK, that's when you start seeing the actual value of the battery of your phone, and it's colored according to the certain intervals. Let me show you more. I can add more units here. I click on add button. Here's the WiaTag employees unit group. I double click. And what I see here, you know, more and more information about their battery of my colleagues. So all of my colleagues, they have WiaTag apps installed on their phones, and you can see who has the lowest battery and who has the highest batteries and the value of each battery. So you can sort out and focus on those ones that have the lowest, probably set up the notification for them, right? Makes sense? What should we do with the notification? Oh, and by the way, you may have a question, right? So why 35 is orange and 54 is yellow and 90 is green? I decided to share the manual with you, you know. So here it is, the information about this new icon, and that's how we color it. 0 to 25 is red, 26 to 50 is orange. You know, it's just the same as is on your iPhones if you use iPhones. And that's the answer to your question that you may ask or may not ask, I don't know. But let's now go to the notifications. Just creating it from scratch. So I click new. I select for which units or unit groups it should work. Okay, so I assign the notification to some unit or unit groups. Then I select the type, and the type of the notification will be what? Sensor value, because I have a battery sensor. And then what range do I want to control? What is a normal battery for me? Let's say from 0 to 40%. Anything that is lower than 40, it's critical. For you, it may be 15 or 20, you know. What else is important? How would the system know which sensor I want to control? I need to put the mask of the sensor, which is battery. Okay. These acronyms, in my case, I don't even need to use them because I surely know that every time I created the sensor, it's called battery. But if you doubt that you named it battery, if you just know, well, it's probably lowercase, uppercase B, it's just battery. That's what definitely is in the name of your notification, or in the name of your sensor. So use this acronyms in the beginning and in the end. Okay, how do you want to be notified? Let's make a dispatcher notification. It will just pop up. Let's probably register the event as a violation. It will not hurt. You know, mobile notification if you're logged in to Wialon mobile app, email, SMS, it's all up to you. Text of the notification. You can leave it as it is. It will just tell you that the battery value is, and then it will tell you 35%, 30%, we'll see. And then we name it. Just for me to remind what's critical for me, I decided to call it battery lower than 40%. And click OK. Okay. So I have that notification created. It may pop up during our presentation, may not, but I think you have a general idea of how it should work. Looks like it's time to briefly cover the chat feature, right? But before we start doing that, I'd like to pay your attention to very important functionality. Let me get rid of other units, but just leave WiaTag test. So that very important functionality is called commands. Okay, so I open the settings of my WiaTag unit. I go to commands. All commands are device specific. And WiaTag is not an exception. It has its own type of commands. And if I click new and I go to the command type, I'll see I can send custom message. I can query snapshot from smartphone. I can query position right here, request configuration, start service of WiaTag, stop service of WiaTag, torch, send message to driver, send position, upload configuration. Well, I'm not going to cover what each command here means, but I'd like to focus on send message to driver because that has something to do with the chat, right? With the ability to chat with the driver who owns WiaTag. And I see you have plenty of questions. I'll see if all of the answers are there in the end of webinar, so I'll cover them in the end if we have time. So command name is send message, okay? Then type of the channel is virtual. Okay. And then you just save it, click OK. Wait a second and look, right now, here is a commands icon, right? And we see that one command is available and it's called send message. If you don't see that column when you test it yourself, that means that this commands option should be activated. The first column, okay, right here, should be activated. Then it will appear. Then you click on that command, click next, and you can say, hi, WiaTag test. It's a webinar test going right now. So if I look at my WiaTag application on my iPhone, I was supposed to get that message and it just triggered. So my screen was locked, it triggered, it notified me that I have a new app. But how else would the dispatcher know that actually everything is great, everything is fine with that message and driver received it, right? That's where I'd like to share with you their Chatbox application that can be opened from the top right corner where all apps are available. So I click here, and that's my Chatbox. I can open it in two ways. First way is open it in a separate tab. Here. So I opened it, and if I go right here to WiaTag test, I can see my message sent at 12:25 p.m. Very convenient way to send additional messages, send some location, send some images, and look at the history. Look at the history of all previous messages. I click from beginning. I tested it a long time ago. You see some images were sent. So that's where the history will be shown. Let me quickly send another message from my WiaTag phone. Okay. All right, so here's my first message, and then there is some image sent right from our Boston office. Now, if I get back to Wialon interface, you see each new message can also be visible. Like you can look at the image from our main interface. I can also look at those messages that were reported. So in both interfaces, the chat is working great. And the last but not the least, how can you work with the chat and at the same time help yourself to control the battery level? Let's go again to the commands and create a copy of an existing command send message. So creating the copy. Now, this command will not tell you send message. It will tell you low battery or battery lower than 40%. Okay. And then you click on the without parameters, and you see that you can type the predefined message. This message will appear on the driver chat who is using WiaTag automatically. So let's tell him your battery is lower than 40%. Click OK. Click OK to save. Now, you see that notification? It works for you right now. It will work when we will define that the battery of the WiaTag is lower than 40%. It can notify you via email. Well, you may add the email of your driver, but not everyone is checking the email. There's so much spam. What you can do in addition to sending the email to your driver or calling your driver and saying your battery is too low, in addition, you can send him the command. You see execute command action, and you see this battery lower than 40%. That's exactly the message that he will see in his chat once this notification triggers. So you select this command, you click next, and OK, and save it. And again, I can demonstrate it to you live, but that's how it worked before. Your battery is below 60%. Before that, I experimented, I tested their battery lower than 60% notification. So that's how it worked. Well, if last time during the webinar I was sharing with you some WLP files that you can import in different metric system, US, metric, imperial, and learn more about different access right templates. This time it will be different. I'll just share with you the credentials of that user and the password. So if you review the recorded webinar on YouTube channel, that information will be shared with you in the description of their video, and you'll be able to log in and look yourself at all the setup of the battery, of their sensor, of the notification. Not a lot to learn about, but still, I hope that will be useful. So in case you want to learn more about WiaTag app, I'd like you to review the presentation and specifically that page that has a lot of useful links. So first, simply the links on how to install that app in App Store and Google Play. Then how you can find the menu to WiaTag, and what is very important on which topics worth to subscribe on our forum. So any WiaTag updates will be right here. Then important settings for iOS, here's the link. And then the QR codes. A lot of customers are interested in QR codes. Some of our current partners are already using QR codes for control of passengers. And again, here's the blog article that describes NFC mobile-enabled devices with WiaTag. So that's all about passenger control project. By the way, if you review the webinar about the passengers module, you'll see the implementation of WiaTag on that webinar. It's all posted on YouTube. So we already covered that QR codes on WiaTag that time. Benefits of WiaTag, just a brief comparison of WiaTag with our old style application GPS tag. And I'm pretty sure you benefit from reading all this forum and blog articles. Plus, we are collecting the feedback from you about all those projects that you may need help to implement and all those features that you believe will be useful for you for the use cases. So share your business use case with my colleague Pavel, who is the product owner for any mobile applications. It's including Wialon Mobile and WiaTag app. So here is the email of Pavel, but we all understand that sometimes the informal chat works better. So if you're using one of this app, Telegram or WhatsApp, or maybe you're using iPhone and you prefer iMessages, here's the phone number of Pavel, and he will gladly chat with you about your project. Specifically, here are some topics that we'd like to hear more about, and that includes setting up WiaTag on multiple devices via QR codes. So we want to simplify the login for your customers. How exactly we should do it, we need to talk to you about it. We are already making a couple of steps forward in that direction, so you can read more on what already was done. If you follow that link, that will be the information to review and then share more ideas with Pavel. Then probably you are interested in reporting video from WiaTag. Again, share more details, tell us more about your use case. We already know a couple of use cases, but we definitely need to learn more about others. And reporting OBD data via Bluetooth. So we imagine there is some other device, it's reading OBD data and then it has Bluetooth enabled. Your phone, your smartphone also has a Bluetooth. So that's where the possibility to help you with different use cases is. So tell us more if that's something that you would be interested in, especially if you have some real project and real opportunity, would like to learn more about it. Thank you so much for your attention. Now it's time for your questions.